Yes, we
So
can.
Shakespeare was a very good writer, but he got the question slightly wrong. The real question is to vote or not to vote. Quoting another great man of Western literature, Erasmus, in the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king. But on a finer point, what about blind perfs? What do you guys do with blind perfs? So this is from L.N. Williams' Fundamentals of Philately. It's a book I resort to frequently. It is comprehensive, but I find it sort of impenetrably written.
Tremendously valuable, but like you say, parts of it are tedious and overdone, and very, very worth having, though.
So in any case, he describes the early years of philately, and he says that it soon became necessary for collectors to find descriptive words regarding perforations. And of course, the idea would be clean cut, the way almost every stamp nowadays is. But he also referred to intermediate, when the sum of the perf holes are not completely clear through, and then blind perfs, which is when the perforating pin has, yes, hit the stamp in an attempt to make a perforation, but doesn't go through. And so all or most of the paper in that circle, it usually is a circle, not always anymore, but
there's a lot of blind perfs that clearly are the result of the pin in that particular location being broken and not there at all.
right. Well, I'm going to show a few blocks from my collection where the blind perfs vastly outnumber the clean cut ones. And I wonder what I should do about it. So I'm going to use as examples these stamps from Nova Scotia. Nova Scotia only issued stamps for a brief period because it joined the Canadian Confederation in 61?
67.
67, okay. Yeah, but it switched over to using Canadian stamps even earlier than that, as far as I can tell. Yes, Unitrade has no listings for any stamps issued. Well, it says the second issue of Nova Scotia stamps were issued between 1860 and 1863. By the way, the Nova Scotia only issued 2 series of stamps. I find the first issue illustrated here absolutely magnificent. To me, although the printing is rough, I understand that. But it looks like fine tapestry to me. There really is a lot of care, I think, in here. And I find the diamond, the geometry of the diamond used on both stamps intriguing. These things came out in 1851, and I cannot think of any stamp that was so printed prior to this issue. Phil mentioned last week in his list of favorite stamps, he mentioned this stamp, and I agree with him. I think it's really beautiful. And another,
I said that for blind perfs. I mean, if you've got, my procedure is that I try to take these out if there are not too many of them. And if it's like the cutting is close enough that with the application of the tip of a pair of tongs, you can actually separate them without tearing the paper. I have damaged a few stamps trying to, but I love nice even perforations, and I hate these.
yeah, is very haphazard. Most of these holes I have experimented with, and I can poke the paper out. But Phil, you say just leave it alone?
Well, that's
what I do. This is not a blind perf. As you can see my arrow upper left here.
Yeah.
There is a perforation piece of paper that could easily be plucked out.
Yeah.
And I typically will do that on the edge of a stamp. But if I have a block, I'm reluctant to get involved in the middle of the stamp. So,
oh, right. I pick off the little, I call them hanging chads.
Yes.
Anybody remember hanging shads?
Oh, yes.
And if it's obvious that it's just hanging by a thread and can easily be picked off, it's safe to do it. But if it seems to be attached to the body of the paper, then you'd better leave it alone, because you're taking a risk of tearing it and getting what they call a pulled perf. That's where,
Yeah, yeah.
where you pull out a bit of the paper behind the perf, and that's a serious bit of damage.
I, also, a small part of my thinking is that there is some philatelic information in these perfs that fail to be completed by the pins. So I don't know. It's representative, again, of its era. You don't see that nowadays at all. So in these two here, you can see it's even less well perforated.
These
Yes.
blocks actually look like they were deliberately separated because of the bad perfs, because you notice the outside of these blocks is in better condition than the inside.
Another reason I'm reluctant to. So that's my discussion, and I'm looking for help from any quarter I could
Mhm.
possibly get it. Thank you, guys.